You're listening to TFP, the fan's perspective.
All right, so moving on from that, I want to talk a little bit about some hip hop. And specifically, one thing that caught my eye, I was scrolling through social media. I saw MC Shan post a video, and he was giving a shout out to Common and Pete Rock. And if you don't know Common and Pete Rock, they have an album called The Auditorium Volume 1. It's dropping, I believe, this weekend.
Hip-hop icons. Both of them.
They have a couple singles that came out. The first single that came out was Wise Up. And it's got a sample from MC Shan's The Bridge, I believe.
The Bridge.
Anyway, so the post I saw was MC Shan giving a shout out to Pete Rock and Common, basically saying, you know, he got his paperwork. Thank you. They handled their business proper. Everything was in order. And just really happy about the way they went about it.
Did right by him.
Did right by him, exactly. And he went on to say, it's not all bad dudes in the music game. There's still some good dudes in the business. You just got to know who you're dealing with. And I just thought that whole post was really, really dope. I was really happy to see that. For Pete Rock and Common, this new album is an ode to the boom bap era, the 90s era of rap.
Our favorite era of hip-hop.
Yeah, exactly.
Our favorite era
of rap music. The first two singles, Wise Up was the first. The second one is All Kinds of Ideas, and both great songs. Common, first of all, Pete Rock doing his thing as usual with these beats and these throwbacks are amazing. And then Common just coming through like a titan with the lyrics. It's a fantastic mashup, and I'm looking forward to the album. Shout out to MC Shan for that.
Yeah, it's good to see MC Shan get, some love.
Yeah,
all
props.
this time later. That's dope to see. It's also super exciting. Common was one of my favorite rappers for a long time. Even up to like B is one of my favorite albums of all time with Kanye's production on it. I think that's one of the best things Kanye worked on projects wise. And Common absolutely shines on that. Creative concepts, dope tracks, lyrically on point. But so it's just really cool to see some of these old school artists bring back the vibes from the era that we grew up on, or that I grew up listening to, these guys, and they're kind of bringing that sound back, but a little more modernized. And I get it's not for everybody's ear. Listeners have changed what they like in the hip-hop lane. It's moved in different directions. There's different sounds, but this is the sound I grew up on, so I have a deep appreciation for what I hear when these dudes come out and still can do their thing and can shine lyrically the way they do on these tracks.
Yeah, I'm happy to see that. When we came out of 2023, I was saying it's the year of the OG. A lot of OGs were doing, big things. We saw some good music, some big names, and it's good to see that roll over into this year, and that this album, first of all, is such a way to keep that momentum going. And then also wanted to shout out MC Lyte and Queen Latifah. They have a new single out that's really dope. It's called King King, and I really like the vibe of it. I think that they both kept up lyrically. They didn't fall into that spot of it's too old or they're so far.
They didn't sound dated.
They didn't sound dated. They didn't.
Two more icons.
Yeah, it's dope. Anyway, shout out to them for coming through on that. Shout out to Rhapsody for her work on that new album as well.
Yeah, that's a pure hip hop album. It's very smooth vibes. It's chill, sit back, smoke a L, and
laid back, smoke a L, and you bump that one. And then shout out first of all. Since we're doing this, I want to give a shout out to Natural Elements, and Charlemagne. They have been dropping single after single, just like the third or fourth one back to back that I've seen. And all the songs have been really fire. It's really dope to see them back in their groove and coming off of, like I was saying, this year of the OG. These guys have been around the game, underground. They have fantastic music and are considered one of the best hip hop groups by a lot of people, especially on the underground scene.
Yeah, especially in the New York scene. Stretch and Bobbito freestyles.
Yeah.
Lots of dope shit.
You know, these are your favorite rappers' favorite rapper kind of group. And the new single YKTV just dropped. Dudes are all of you guys, Natural Elements, are alive and well. I'm loving it. Everything is popping right now. So keep doing what you're doing.
Killing.
And I do plan to hit up A so we can get you guys on the show pronto. So I'm gonna be hitting them up real soon so we can see if we can have a conversation with them about new music and what's going on in their mind, in their world.
I said, one of the first live performances I've seen was at the park, Shallow Waters BBQ. A went up and did an acapella version of MIA, did it straight off top. Then Swiggo surprised him, showed up, if I'm not mistaken, and then they performed some tracks together, which was super dope. One of the most fire experiences I had, and like part of my formative hip hop experience growing up, to be at the cookout with the performances like that. It was great.
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier, but I'm trying to get that footage on digital. So hopefully I can make that happen real soon.
Yeah, some of those battles were great too.
It'd be nice if I could make that happen around the same time I can get those guys on the show and have it all together.
Yeah, that would be dope. Cut in some of the clips from that, because that was the best barbecue for me. That was my favorite one.
Yeah, we had a lot of artists there. Shout out to J Par and Deuce Gutter. J Par did his thing at that barbecue. We had the battle session going on. Speaking of hip hop, something fantastic going on in the hip hop world right now, I know that you wanted to talk about, was the hip hop Olympics.
Or the breakdancing.
Well, that's right. I said hip hop Olympics. The break. No, it's actually breaking or b-boy.
We don't call it breakdancing.
We call it breakdancing.
Even when I was watching VHS how-to videos, they said that like a true breakdancer or a true b-boy never says breakdancing. I remember that line and committing that.
So it's funny. I just watched Breaking on the One on Hulu. For anybody who hasn't, I recommend checking that out. It's a throwback to the starting of hip hop, and specifically focuses on the breakdancing portion. Leads into the battle, Rocksteady versus the Dynamics. It's awesome. I mean, the documentary is dope. There's such great faces, old school faces you'll see in it, and how it all came about, the battle scenes and what these kids went through. I mean, it was just dope to see. They didn't have any playgrounds out there, in the Bronx. It was just like rundown buildings.
We'll get some cardboard.
These kids just did what they had to, and it was really dope to see the evolution from then into what we're talking about now, which is b-boying has made it into the Olympics.
It's really dope to see that from something that started as one of the elements of hip hop, and one that I feel kind of goes underappreciated sometimes for its part in the spread of hip hop. It's super dope to hear that now it's an Olympic level competition. And I personally, so as a former b-boy, not anymore, too old for that shit, too many injuries, I'm not as flexible as I used to be, pause. But the whole thing about it for me is it's really dope to watch. So I threw on the Olympic qualifiers to kind of get a vibe for how they're going to do it. And they treat it a lot like some of the other b-boy competitions now, like the World Breaking Championships are run by Red Bull, and it's head-to-head battles. There are a ton of judges that judge on 5 criteria. I'm going to forget them now, but it's like technicality, creativity, musicality. They have criteria, and they get 3 rounds back and forth. They each get a turn. So a battle can really change. If you're in a single elimination battle, you might have some moves to break out that you were saving for the last battle because you'll lose on creativity points if you repeat. But if you need round 3, you might have to bust it out. And you saw some situations at the qualifiers, like there were 3 Japanese women in only 2 spots. And one of them went to the finals. So the last battle of the semifinal were these 2 Japanese women battling for the last spot to qualify for the Olympics. And to me, it turned into my favorite battle of the whole qualifier event for the women's wing of the battles. Yeah, it was super dope. And something similar happened where one of the males from Japan and one of the guys from US, they were also in a situation where they were both in 3rd place. So the winner would still have a chance to make it, but whoever lost was out of the Olympics. And they started in the quarterfinals, and they got heated. One dude went to start his set, and you're allowed to steal the start if you jump in soon enough. And the dude jumped in and went crazy, and the dude was so offended at getting skipped that he busted out one of his best sets, ballistic on it. But this was for, this is my survival. Yeah, this is my survival. So the battle wound up being really good. It was Eason versus Jethro. So if you want to see those two battles really embody how even in the semifinals or the quarterfinals, you can have these really emotional moments and these highs and lows and these desperation moves. It's super dope. Everybody's got their own flavor. And I have a love of this part of hip hop, the b-boying and the dance aspect. And so it's super cool to see that this thing that's gone global now is getting its recognition in the biggest competition stage.
Yeah, it's really dope to see. It was really dope to watch the documentary on the origin story, and then to hear you breaking down that battle. I mean, it's fantastic. I thought it was great when those shows, like, what was it, World of Dance, or one of those that had all the breakers on?
World of Dance, America's Best Dance Crew definitely put some of the b-boying on the map. Super Crew especially repped heavy. Jabberwockies had breakdancing included. Yeah. In World of Dance, actually, season 2 on the kids division, this is 10 years ago maybe, the lead breakdancer for the kids division winners, a group called The Lab, has gone on to have a great career in breaking competitions. She's a former world champion, and her name is Logistics, and you'll see her in the Olympics. She's one of the qualified people. Nice. So if you watched World of Dance, you've seen this girl when she was much younger, killing it, and you could tell she was fierce back then, but now she's like evolved into the final form. This is the Charizard version. She's a beast.
Wow. Yeah. So I got to check that out. Just good things going on in hip hop in general.
Yeah, and I got one more thing about breaking in the Olympics. I have heard people pull the breaking doesn't belong in the Olympics card, and that annoys me a little bit because I get that it's not, you wouldn't think sports with it, but for the athleticism necessary to be a b-boy or a b-girl at the highest level and win a world competition, I'm going to guess that it's at least even with the dudes who sweep the ice during curling. I'm guessing there's a bit of intensity to the training that can compete with the curlers. No offense to curlers, all respect. It's one of my favorite sports to watch. I'm just saying, come on, man. If you can sweep ice and get into the Olympics, spinning on your head, shoulders, and flying through the air, that can also make it. A lot of people at the top levels also have gymnastics backgrounds.
They asked some of the guys in the documentary about that specifically. And most of the people were excited and happy to be in the Olympics. There was one dude from Rocksteady Crew, I forget his name, but his take on it was, I don't consider it a sport. I consider it part of the dance world, and it should be kept in that world. He doesn't like it as a sport. So interesting take, but it wasn't anything like real negative. It was just, this is a dance stuff. This is dance stuff, not sports.
I can respect that, but to me, the competitive,
takes a ton of athleticism to
first
break
off,
dance,
the athleticism necessary,
break or b-boy, whatever you want to call it,
to hit air windmills, to the balance necessary for 1990s spinning on your hands, or the different types of spins, and to combine them, to do them all in order without breaking your set, which will cost you a round if you screw something up like that. That's how the guy Eason got eliminated eventually. But there's a ton of athleticism necessary, and also I just think you cannot disambiguate breaking from the competitive aspect that was always there. Rocksteady put it on the map through a battle. Like that story, that documentary is about the battle that put it on the map. And when we talk about hip-hop culture, it's a competitive culture in every element. There are DJ battles that are incredible. There are tagging battles where the artwork's amazing. There are, of course, great battles. Kendrick's Pop-Out concert, another highlight of hip-hop this year. So, the competitive aspect is always there. And I always hear the comparison to sport when we talk about battles in these different elements. So I'm totally with it belongs in the Olympics. Give us our shine, man. Let it be a global sport like that. And, it'll be even bigger than what we get when the Red Bull BC competition starts. I watch those, but I know not a lot of people will. I think more people will tune in to an Olympic level competition and maybe grow that fondness to tune into the next Red Bull BC or the Pan Am Games.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm curious to see what heights they push the dance aspect, the artistry, the floor game versus the top game, because watching from its inception, everything was brand new.
Yeah.
The first guy walked on his hands, the first guy did spun on his head. Everything was brand new. And now these acrobatic style routines are so advanced. So I wonder how much further this pushes the curve.
And so what's super dope now, and I noticed it in the qualifiers, is originality is still a huge, and creativity is still a huge aspect of the game, because the Japanese women weren't, or at least two of them weren't the most athletic. One of them was 41, and she was just the smoothest with the biggest combination of tricks that she had. She could just hit you a million different ways she would style. And she battled a woman from France who was tall, a former gymnast, whose whole style was power moves, which is all that high flying. She was like kind of lanky, so everything looked really graceful as she flipped around and did all this stuff. And then this Japanese woman would just like break into, there's a little bit of a Latin flair to the beat, so she's like salsaing while she's hitting the top rock, and it's like, oh, she just styled. I think I'm gonna pick her to win this round. Like, she had such a smooth, and everything looked easy when she did it, where she was taking battles from people because she wore them down. They'd win the first round looking so cool, but they didn't have enough tricks to keep up with just how creative she was being.
That's the one thing I will say about breaking as a whole. There's a lot of ways to win. You know what I mean? There's so many things you can do. There's so many ways to put it together that creatively, it's like an open field to work with,
There's, so like the musicality aspect, you could hit your tricks to the beat and it just adds so much more impact to that. Or in battles, in rap battles, you have rebuttals, right? Somebody might freestyle something real quick to kind of disarm what you just did. There's certain forms of that when you watch a really high level b-boy battle where maybe as soon as they finish the set, this dude jumps in with a massive flip and power right to start to make you forget about it. Or they'll do something like that throws in a little mocking of their style, the other person's style. So there's so much, there's a language to it. And you can see everybody, when you watch these battles, they're going to have a unique style to it. But most of the time, you'll be able to appreciate how someone wins the battle. Like, most of the decisions for me were fair decisions, even the ones I disagreed with. And it really often came down to that third round. It often came down to like 5 judges to 4. These battles are great. So I'm very excited. I'm hoping that it's a chance to introduce competitive breaking to a whole new world of fans,
Yeah. You know what? And you said it's on YouTube?
The Olympic qualifiers are on YouTube. Yeah, you can find them. There's 2 sets of them. And I watched the second series. I didn't watch the first.
I got to go back and check that out. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I love those dance competitions.
Oh, man. I'm telling you, I got to pull up the one with the 2 Japanese battlers where they're battling with their life on the line. And it was so intense and good. They both put everything out. It was incredible.
Word. All right. Well, listen, that's our spiel for hip hop of the day.
Yup.
You got anything else you want to get off your chest for this one? I think we'll come back and do another. We're gonna
do a little more recording.
Yeah, we're gonna come back. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
I do have as a teaser for a future one, but I have histories first. So like Zorro hit when we did the inspiration for Zorro, who then in turn is an inspiration for a bunch of other masked heroes, essentially. And that got a lot of engagement and people talking, discussing them. So I want to introduce people to who I think, and I love when the comments introduce me to other figures that can challenge for this. History's first Floyd Mayweather. That's going to be a story I'd like to get into in a future topic.
Yeah, I'm with that. On the next episode.
But
thank you for sticking around this far.
You're listening to TFP, the fan's perspective.